We have a healthcare crisis in Alabama, and Medicaid expansion will go a long way in fixing it.
It saddens me to think that we here in Alabama have not expanded Medicaid. We're in a minority. 10 states have not expanded Medicaid, but 40 have. Alabama could be next.
It is clear that Medicaid expansion would have drastically improved the lives of hundreds of thousands of Alabamians if we had only taken the opportunity to participate when it was first presented.
I have a friend who lost her daughter several years ago who was ill with breast cancer, but knew she could not afford to go to the doctor for diagnosis or treatment. And tragically, by the time she went to the emergency room, she was in stage 4.
Many of the families that we serve are not able to access health care. They either make too much money to qualify for Medicaid, or they make too little to access private health care insurance.
I know and work with many people who are in this same situation. It is immoral and it is wrong.
It puzzles me why we haven't expanded Medicaid here in Alabama. It's a very popular program. More than 70% of Americans favor expansion, and a majority of people here in Alabama support it. So you wonder why.
If we believe that we are our brothers and sisters' keeper, then we would want everyone, all of us, to have the same kind of treatment across the board.
The biggest argument, the usual argument, is that we can't afford it. But 90% of the funds to expand Medicaid would come from the federal government. The best study we have of the financial impact of expanding Medicaid here in Alabama concluded that in the coming 6 years, Alabama's Treasury would take in $1 billion more than we spent by expanding Medicaid. That's $1 billion.
Alabama ranks near the bottom in all of the factors that indicate chronic disease and ultimately early death. Obesity, hypertension, diabetes run rampant in our state.
All the religions I know anything about encourage their adherents to support and care for people who are poor.
When a tornado strikes, the community mobilizes and everyone makes sure that people receive water, emergency shelter, food, clothing, and those basic human needs are then met. The lack of Medicaid expansion is a permanent tornado.
My friend's daughter died, and she probably would be here today if she had had access to health care in Alabama.
It's a situation where we've decided that a certain number of people are not going to receive primary health care, and they will experience early death and sickness. And as a result of that, we will preach lots of beautiful funerals.
Jesus said that the 2 greatest commandments, the 2 most important things in life, are to love God and to love your neighbor. When you can provide health care insurance for your neighbor and choose not to do that, how can you be said to be loving your neighbor?
People need access to primary and preventative health care to stay healthy. Medicaid expansion would provide that. It's just that simple.
Matthew 25 calls us, in the words of Jesus, who said, "When I was hungry, you gave me food. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink." He also said, "When I was sick, you comforted me." Here in Alabama, we have people in power who have the power to comfort the sick, to expand Medicaid, and to follow the words of Matthew 25.
Our Governor Kay Ivey could expand Medicaid with a stroke of her pen.
She could make the decision to expand Medicaid in Alabama, and it would be done.
I think she has a good heart, and I think she's already oriented towards a more inclusive vision of what this state could be.
She and I both happen to be Baptists, so we both believe that it is important to care for those who are poor.
And I know she has a strong sense of faith. She very much identifies as a believer, which makes me optimistic that she will act in a way which is consistent with her faith and will expand Medicaid.
When Ohio expanded Medicaid, this is what the Republican governor, John Kasich, had to say. "Now, when you die and get to the meeting with St. Peter, he's probably not going to ask you much about what you did about keeping government small, but he is going to ask you what you did for the poor. You better have a good answer."
As a fellow Christian, I implore her to to do the right thing.